It is the sixth in the series of our agenda setting program right here on Flow 94.9 FM. This is the flow of God's own state. The Impact is the program as we count down to the inauguration day, talking about the May 29th. Of course, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu was elected, declared the winner of the governorship election. Of course, he will be sworn in for the second time in office on May 29th. This is an agenda setting program. We look at the high point and of course the low point and look at the way forward. How just in the way to ensure a prosperous Abia state. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. My name is Samson. And he is Michael Oni. Well, we are continuing our inquest, our interrogation on some of the things that the present administration in Abia State, led by Governor Okezie Ikpeazu and his charges, all the things they promised to do for the people of Abia State. How far, so far? Like in almost 4 years now, how have they been able to meet up with those promises, the policy statements that they laid out from the beginning? And our guest this morning is the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Right Honorable Prince Chris Eweremadu. Good morning to you, and glad to have you right here on Flow 94.9 FM, sir.
Good morning, it's my pleasure.
It is your first time in the studios of Flow 94.9 FM?
I think it's my second time.
The second
I had
time.
visited once with the governor.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us this morning on this agenda setting program.
Okay, let's kickstart by looking at your ministry. Your ministry is in charge of the affairs of the local government. We know. Maybe we should start from what is trending now. You heard about the controversies brought by
local government
the local government funding and the new guideline by the Nigeria Intelligence Financial Unit (NFIU) about local government autonomy. What is your take on that? You've been a local government chairman and then a commissioner in that regard now. So what's your take? We'll drive from there.
Well, first of all, I'd like to address it the same way that you have described it. It's a controversial issue.
Okay.
Controversial in the sense that it borders on so many interpretations of the letters of the Constitution. I do know that several attempts has been made by the National Assembly and the state assemblies to readdress the configuration of the 1999 Constitution as amended with reference to how local governments are run. And I believe that this process is still in play, and suddenly the NFIU came up with these directives. I think it is not my place to say about the legality of those actions. I believe that there are good intentions under what they're doing, but I also think if democracy is to sustain, things must be done through the instrument that protects democracy, which is the Constitution. The idea is to grant a leverage, a level of autonomy to the funds of the local governments. And it is a welcome development in all quarters. But one needs to also be part and parcel of that system to know how they can impact or help the system without damaging the entire process or the exercise of governance at the third tier of government. I personally do not believe that the problem of Nigeria lies with the third tier of government and its relationship with the states. I think that the national or the federal government needs to reduce its control on the nation's wealth so that the states that are performing most of the duties that impact on the lives of Nigerians get a larger share of what is called the allocation of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So that being said, is a new innovation, and I'm sure that the system would also test to see the workabilities of that new introduction.
Okay. Let's go straight to the business of the day, agenda setting. And we're looking at your ministry, Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. Some persons may be asking, what exactly is that ministry for? Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. to
the
anyone,
core mandate?
you know?
Well, first of all, there is a section of the Constitution that provides for the joint accounts of local government and states allocations, and is under the auspices of that constitutional provision.
Okay.
That the local government, the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, derives its powers to coordinate the activities of local governments. Originally, that ministry was merely there to look after the traditional institutions. So with the innovation of that constitutional amendment that made provision for the joint allocations with local government and states, this ministry is now started with coordinating the affairs of the local government and that of the traditional rulers. What we do in essence is we try to manage the funds of the local government to meet the general needs of the people at the local government levels. This includes waste management, which if you know the cost of waste management, you would find out that no local government can bear the cost of its waste management alone. So the collaboration of all local governments in pulling together funds to administer the waste management system has helped. In fact, it is a gain made from centralizing this waste management program. You also have the issue of security, which is coordinated. The local government securities, in consonance with the state, coordinates security assistance that helps us to try and sleep better and traverse the length and breadth of the state more peacefully. So we have so many other joint projects that local government and states embark on. But primarily, the principal goal of that system is to pay salaries to local government workers, to the local government pensioners, and also to address issues that arise from different local governments. As you do know, the needs of the local governments vary from one local government to the other. And that is the key responsibility of that ministry.
Okay. Do you have any supervisory role over local governments, apart from dispensing or disbursing the funds?
The role that we exercise over local government is one. If we disburse funds to local government, it is our responsibility to ensure that those funds are spent in line with the request that brought about the release of those funds. That is one of the ways we supervise and monitor and engage with the systems of the local governments.
Okay, can we move on to the achievements now? What you've been able to do in the course of you being the commissioner. I understand you're still the commissioner for local government and chieftaincy affairs. I would like you to put more light on that, because a list was released by the government that some commissioners were asked to step down before the inauguration, and of course your name was not part of. I don't understand exactly what happened, so we'd like you to put more light on that, and of course what exactly the ministry is about.
Well, I had already thrown light on what the ministry is about, on the issue of what we have been able to achieve. We have been able to sustain a certain level of peace across the local governments of the state. We have embarked on several projects through the immediate past local government chairman, and we're still currently doing construction. This kind of money will be difficult to be paid. We need to exercise. I want to use this opportunity to commend the civil service at the state level, who are now embracing the contributory pension scheme. And I believe that once the local government buys into it, we will start to address the backlogs. And the new entrants, those that have at least 20 years left of service, will now engage in this new contributory pension scheme. Because you can't continue to pay this kind of money and expect anything to be achieved in these local governments.
What can we say is responsible for this high wage bill?
The high wage bill.
Two things are responsible for this high wage bill. One is that in the past, previous governments had seen the local government system as an unemployment benefit scheme, and they have taken in surplus a workforce that the local government does not require. That is one of the reasons why the number of workers there skyrocketed. Two is that there are a lot of ghost workers, people that we refer to as ghost workers, people whose names are in the pay list of local governments who do not come to work, and every month they receive salaries. These are the two most critical reasons for the rise in those wage bills that you have.
Is the government aware of the presence of these ghost workers?
Government is very much aware of it. To that
Really?
end, government has introduced a biometric exercise in the 17 local governments. And this biometric exercise has also met with a lot of resistance from some people in the local government system.
Resistance, you say?
Resistance, non-compliance to the exercise, vandalization of the equipment that are there to capture those who do not turn up to work. I also need to place on record that this resistance does not conform with the generality of the people. The majority of them are willing to address and resolve this issue.
What can you say is responsible for this resistance?
The resistance is occasioned because those people who are guilty of these abnormalities do not want the proper things done in these systems. So they engage in several different kinds of things to, one, incite other workers, two, to give false information of the intentions of that exercise. This government has no intention, the government of Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu has no intention of laying off any credible staff of any local government. What we're trying to do is to make them more productive and make sure that if you're receiving salaries, that you're working for those salaries that you receive.
Okay, you're talking about not laying off any credible worker in Abia State, and you told us that the state government gets approximately 2.5 billion naira a month.
Yeah.
And in 48 months...
That's for the local government.
For the local government.
Yes.
In 48 months, May, this year inclusive, the state government would have garnered 120 billion.
Yes.
And you're spending 2.2 billion naira on the average on workers' salary.
Yes.
How do you hope to sustain this, given the resistance that you talked about, the verification, and the governor's language that he is not ready to downsize the workforce? So how do you hope to sustain the local government system and make it very productive for the people in the grassroots?
Good. Moving forward, government intends to make every local government a little self-sufficient by creating a viable project that would be able to assist in the statutory allocations that each local government gets. I'll give you an example. We're romancing with the idea of getting each local government to engage in farming in the areas where they have comparative advantage. And we believe that, I don't know if it was on this your airwave that I also heard re-echoed government's intention to have a cassava processing plant, to have a rice mill plant. This is aimed, these agricultural centers across the 17 local governments, if actualized, will be a source of supply to those finishing points where cassava, if cassava is the specialty of any particular area, cassava will be turned into starch and other byproducts that would enable them to become marketable. Then we're also looking at we have comparative advantage in oil palm production. We're looking at areas. The Ministry of Agriculture has done a lot in providing palm seedlings in the last 2 years. And in the next 2 years, we should start to see the yields of these palm seedlings. And that we intend to sustain by finding local governments that have comparative advantage in this palm production to plant, have acres of lands across each local government and do farm specialization in them. That we believe would engage the local government workers so that they will become productive. 2, it would add to their source of income, making the payment of their salaries and other needs of the local government a little lighter.
Okay. Another thing to look at is the issue of internally generated revenue.
Exactly.
Do local governments generate revenue?
Most of them do not account for the generation of any revenue.
It's not proper.
It's not proper. But that's part of the challenges that I believe this government faces, and it's also a challenge that I know that this government is more than willing to address now.
Are they supposed to remit part of whatever they generated to the state coffers? Or are you supposed to
First of all, they're not even generating it, so they're not remitting
So
it.
they're not generating
Most
revenue.
of the local governments, especially the rural local governments, have not been showing records of generation of revenue. The only local governments that their revenues are easy to account for are the urban local governments, like Umuahia North, Aba North, Aba South, probably Ubunabo, the likes of those local governments, because their sources of revenue is visible to everyone. In the case of the rural local government, it's difficult to monitor how they are able to do or what they're able to do with their revenue windows.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, you chair the Joint Allocation and Account
Fiscal, yeah.
the JAC.
The JAC, yeah.
So, do you think that those managers at that level of government that these funds are being handed over to, do you think they've been very accountable?
Well, it's not my place to begin to judge whether they've been accountable or not. But I think, to the best of my knowledge, funds that are released from JAC to local governments have been spent in its proper manner, unless proven otherwise.
Okay, in the early days of Governor Okeze's administration, there was a certain verification exercise that led to, I don't know whether you would call it retrenchment, but some workers who the government suspected through that process that they didn't get into the system through the right windows were asked to leave. Could you confirm that?
In the local government system?
In the local government system.
I don't have those records. Like you said, it was in the early parts. My direct involvement in this administration is approximately a year and 6 months now. Okay. So it's not part of that, but I do not have records of people being relieved of their work.
Okay, we've focused on local government and chieftaincy affairs. We're focusing on local government and chieftaincy affairs, but we've talked a lot about the local government aspect. Let's go to the chieftaincy affairs part now. There was a time myself and Samson were in the office, and there was this presentation of staff of office to traditional rulers. Apart from this function, what other roles do you play in terms of taking charge of these traditional institutions, especially as it concerns boundary dispute and some other issues?
Well, first of all, you do know that the first tier of government is the traditional governments, the autonomous communities. That is actually the first tier of government. They are the people who have first impact with the people before even the local government, the state and the federal government. To that end, most of the issues that you talked about, boundaries, local issues, and its likes, they occur at that level. We, on our parts, we guide the traditional rulers to ensure, one, that they are responsible and responsive to the maintenance of the culture and the tradition of their people. Two, that they sustain peace in their different autonomous communities. And often there are always issues that arise from one community to the other, and sometimes this borders on encroachment of authority from one community to the other. It falls under the purview of the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs to look at these issues and try to resolve them without these matters, one, escalating into violent confrontations or leading to unnecessary litigations. So we play that role time and time over to ensure the maintenance and sustenance of peace. We also give them guides, lectures on how to manage their populations, the youths in the areas, the women in the areas, and we make provisions for them to have meetings, because it is through those interactions that a lot of problems become solved and solved timely.
All right, it is still the Impact, the agenda setting program on Flow 94.9 FM. And of course, we're having, is still very much in the studio, Right Honorable CO Ewere Madu, right here in the studios of Flow 94.9 FM, the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. And we're looking at what the ministry has been able to achieve in the past 1 year or thereabout that he has been the commissioner. And of course, we're looking at the way forward. What are the things we should be expecting as it concerns the second administration? Some job that have been done and not completed because of the time, of course, to be completed in the second tenure of Governor Okezie Ikpeazu.
Exactly. CEO, how can we make the local government administration more effective and responsive to the developmental needs of the people at the grassroots going forward?
Good. Well, that's part of the light that I've thrown into government's intention for the local governments moving forward. We want to create an enabling environment where the local government can assist in the payments of their salaries, where the local government exercises would also engage the huge workforce that they have by creating, the goal for now is the creation of agricultural settlements across these local governments. And we believe if we take the comparative advantage of most of these local governments, these goals can be actualized. On the issue of, I also think that the system needs to be more innovative in the sense that there are so many things that the local governments can do. You find a situation where you have 1,600 staff in a local government, and yet you have thousands of potholes. And in this some local government, you have maybe 300 or 400 personnel in the works department. The local government can procure little work equipment and engage them in filling these potholes. Government, in collaboration with the local government, has also equipped Abroma. And given Abroma has acquired a lot of earth-moving equipment, and we're trying to work out how this earth-moving equipment can, year in, year out, contribute to the betterment of the roads and keep them in shape across the local governments. We're looking at a budget to help procure some of the equipment that they do not have, so that Abroma can almost complete a road on its own. That way, I think if we're able to actualize that in the next 2 years, the dividends will start to be shown before the end of the governor's second term.
All right. If you want to be part of this conversation, it's 0808 182 6949 or 0811 605 2949. You can also drop your messages on the SMS line 0906 510 8289. Just as we have a thread on our Facebook page, you can log on to your Facebook page and of course follow Flow 94.9 FM. We have over 20,000 followers on our Facebook page presently. Of course, you can be a part of that community. Log on to our Facebook page and join the conversation there. It's www.facebook.com/flow949fm. Hello, good morning to you. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
What's your name?
My name is Emeka Kami.
All right, where are you calling from?
Calling from Mishala South Umacha.
Okay. All right, go ahead with your question or contribution.
Okay. My greetings to the Honorable Commissioner. I wanted to ask, I've been hearing the issues of people not getting paid, the new people that got recruited in January till now in the local government staff. So I don't know what is the situation of things.
Okay, go. Please, your question again, please. Can you just rephrase your question again? Thank you.
Yes, the question is, I have information that in January, the new recruited staff of local government have not been paid till now. So I do not know if this is true.
Okay, thank you for your contribution or your question. Yes.
Well, that question that he has just raised, the new recruited staff are still going through the processes of not only confirmation, they're still going through, there's a process that is currently being carried out to enlist their names. The local government auditor general is working with that list.
Right.
And it is after that has been concluded, I'm sure the person saying will find out that most of these new recruits have not been placed in any proper position of work in the various local government that they are assigned to. So the process is ongoing. When it's concluded, they will be included in the salary scheme.
Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael and Samson.
Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Deputy.
Morning, my brother.
I remember, sir,
You're welcome.
Honorable, please, I'm very grateful on the way you talk. I'm very, very enlightened. I love this.
Thank you, my brother.
Now, the issue of the question I want to ask is this. Based on the trend of the reforms in the local government as regards their autonomy, and based on our local government from the whole southeast of the state, you know that most of them are not being elected. They just appoint them as CC and not the rest of them. As an educated someone as I'm seeing you, the way it is, what advice would you give the governors to ensure that this autonomy of local government has been, is being done by the federal government with the thing that everybody would like and it comes through? That's my thing, the government.
All right, thank you.
I think it is the intention of most governors to ensure that the systems that are operated in their areas makes the place better off than they probably inherited it. I also note that the federal government needs to also bring the governors into this plan instead of doing it as exercising it as a dictatorial procedure. I'll tell you why, because they need the cooperation of the governors to make this work across the states. And just sitting in Abuja and directing that this be done, you have pointed out one very important cardinal point, that the control of these local governments are still in the hands of the states, the governors and the states. So if government wants this to work, all the stakeholders need to participate in working out a proper avenue that would make it work.
Hello, good morning to you. Yeah, good morning.
My name is Professor.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. Good morning to you, the Commissioner. If I heard that the Commissioner correctly, he said that the government is making some resistance in terms of the workers' verification and the local government area. To me, I think that statement coming from a commissioner is very much unfortunate. Because
can you repeat what you said? He said
that the commissioner said that when they tried the verification,
verifying workers using the biometric verification process, that the government met resistance. Some of the equipment were vandalized. I had him correctly said that some of the equipment were vandalized, maybe submitting the local government system. So if a commissioner who has the political will and everything could not actually take up the bull by the horn and complaining to Abians that they met resistance in that process, then what do you expect an ordinary man to think? Because the issue of not payment of local government salaries is now in the public knowledge that the government takes the blame. The thousands administrations take the blame. So if as a commissioner, if there is any particular resistance, what has the commissioner, what advice has the commissioner given to the state government to that particular regard? That's my number one question.
Okay, well, you have in 30 seconds, please, because of our time.
Okay, then my last question is this. In terms of the issue of salary, why is there discrepancies? Maybe some local government receive this month, some will not receive. Why there's a joint account being managed for that particular for the entire 17 government area? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. But because of the issue we had with the headphone, let me just retrace the questions again. He mentioned that what advice have you given as a commissioner to the state government concerning that resistance that you met during the verification exercise? Political will? Is it that the ministry doesn't have the political will? And of course, the other question concerning the discrepancies in the local government.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I need to correct the impression. I said that the resistance has come from a minority group of staff. And I suspect that this minority group of staff that are giving this resistance constitutes a large bulk of these ghost workers. We have received cooperation from a good majority of staff across the 17 local governments. It is also on record that the instruments used for this exercise in some local government had been vandalized. Now, governance is a process. When something happens of this nature, government's ability to react to it shows the strength, the political strength and will of that government to address these issues. And I assure you that this government of Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu has both the political will and the strength to address these issues, which we're currently doing. That being said, all necessary actions are being put in place, because also the cost of these biometric exercises comes at quite some cost.
Okay.
And because of that, there are local governments, as we speak now, that have not queued up to the biometric system. So it is a process. We will get across the 17 local governments. And on the issue of discrepancy payments across the 17 local governments, we do not engage in discrepancy payments. If there are any delays to any local government, it is probably occasioned from the problems that they have with their banks. From time to time, we find out that some local government accounts become garnished. So if salaries are put into those accounts, they get frozen till negotiations are completed to unfreeze these accounts.
Hello, good morning to you. Hello, good morning to you. What's your name, please?
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you move away from your radio set so that we can hear you better? All right. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, it's better now. You're welcome, Babakonas.
I want to ask you a question, please. You mentioned the name of those workers and the people who are allowed to go near the purpose. I want you to, I think, look at that matter. People are playing that ghost workers. Am I right?
Can you take that again, please, or probably change it?
That people are responsible for the employment of the ghost workers. And that brings us to another issue of how recruitment in the local government system is being done? Because you talked about ghost workers. So who employed the ghost workers? And at the moment you're complaining of high wage bill, but you're still recruiting into the local government system.
First of all, government has a policy of trying to create employment to the teeming youths.
Whatever it is, we are always ready and set to give you what you need. We also run visual advert for your company, products and services. And we air not just on radio, but also on our online TV. For more information and booking, you can visit Flow 94.9 FM located at 7B Factory Road, Umuahia.